जो आज से 20 साल पहले भी ऐसा था, आज भी ऐसा है, इनके सुनने के बाद भी ऐसा ही लग रहा है। और अगले जो वक्ता हैं हम डॉक्टर साहब बताएंगे कि कौन है।
Now I will request Dr. Umesh Pandey, who is Assistant Professor, Department of Cardiology, IMS BHU, and he will be giving his deliberation on approach to narrow QRS tachycardia. Dr. Pandey, please.
Very good afternoon to the respected chairpersons and the learned audience. I must congratulate Dr. Alok sir for organizing such academic feast, and simultaneously I must thank also to provide me this opportunity to speak on this topic among such learned audience. So my topic is how to approach a narrow complex tachycardia. As we are well aware that it is one of the very common emergency which we deal not only by the cardiologists but also the general physicians which deal in the routine emergencies. So coming to the topic, it is an umbrella term which is defined as any heart rate more than 100 beats per minute with a QRS duration of less than 120. And the word narrow signifies that regardless of the arrhythmia mechanism, the atrial or atrial activity, ventricular depolarization is via the engagement of his and Purkinje system. Most of them are supraventricular tachycardias, which involves tachycardias arising above the bundle of his, and very rarely, as discussed by Dr. Astosh, it could be fascicular VT or higher septal VTs. So they can be classified in many ways, and this is an anatomical classification, that is the structures required for initiation and maintenance. Now, if it is primary atrial tissue, it is classified maybe because of sinus tachycardia, inappropriate sinus tachycardia, sinus nodal reentrant tachycardia, atrial tachycardia, multifocal atrial tachycardia, atrial fibrillation and flutter. And if it's involving AV junction, it is classified as AV nodal reentrant tachycardia, atrioventricular reentrant tachycardia, junctional tachycardia, junctional ectopic tachycardias, and non-paroxysmal junction tachycardia in adults. So clinical presentation vary actually depending upon the persistence of the tachycardia, age of the presentation, and the ventricular rate. So common presentation may be chest discomfort or pressure, dyspnea, lightheadedness, dizziness or CP syncope, more commonly in elderly patients, palpitation and polyuria because of the atrial stretch. Uncommonly chest pain, diaphoresis, nausea, syncope, and very rarely they may be asymptomatic. They may present as tachy-induced cardiomyopathy, and in some high-risk cases of WB syndrome may present as sudden cardiac death. So some clues can be provided by the physical examination, as pulse, BP, S1, they are regular and constant in the regular tachycardias as compared to flutter and fibrillation with a variable AV block. Pulse, blood pressure and loudness of S1 varies. Neck veins, this is a very important clinical sign that is known as frog sign, where we can find a rapid regular pulsation. Like in AVNRT or AVRT, the atria contacts against closed AV wall. There is a rapid, regular, expansive venous pulsation in the neck that resembles the rhythmic puffing motion of a frog, and it is due to the simultaneous activation of atria and ventricles. Now coming to the ECG, most important thing for diagnosis of this narrow QRS tachycardia is very refined reading of this ECG, and it should be done in the following steps. First, inspect and compare ECG, look for the P wave morphology, how the tachycardia is initiated, what is the effect of drugs, carotid sinus massage or vagal maneuvers, like whether it is leading to the AV dissociation or variable conduction on tachycardia, or what is the mode of termination, and there are various algorithms for differential diagnosis of narrow complex tachycardias. So important is sinus P wave morphology. What is sinus P wave morphology? It has a smooth contour, biphasic in V1, and P waves are upright in lead 1 and 2 and inverted in AVR. Duration of less than 120 or 3 small square, and inferior leads, that is 2, 3 AVF and lead V1 is important for identification of these P waves. So depending upon the P wave morphology, a baseline comparison of atrial activation during this narrow complex tachycardia with the rhythm of normal sinus rhythm is key to distinguish mechanisms such as ectopic focal firing like atrial tachycardia macro-oriented tachycardias like F wave in atrial flutter, and retrograde atrial activation in the form of negative P waves in 2-3 AVF, which may be present, give hint to the AV nodal reentient tachycardia, AV reentient tachycardia, or junctional tachycardias. So P wave morphology: if P wave is positive in 2-3 AVF, possibilities are atrial tachycardia and AVRTs. If it is negative in 2-3 AVF, possibilities are AVNRT and AVRT with atrial tachycardia. And if one AVL it is negative P wave morphology, possibilities are atrial tachycardia and AVRT. Again, with the help of P wave, if P waves are visible, and then we should look about the morphology of the P wave. If it is of the normal morphology, then there may be a possibility of sinus tachycardia, sinus node reentry, or inappropriate sinus tachycardia. If P wave is not visible, we should look about the regularity of the RR interval, and irregular is atrial fibrillation, and regular most commonly is AVNRT. Now, how the tachycardia is initiated? So, onset of tachycardia with BPC favors the diagnosis of AVRT, with APC with long PR intervals favors the diagnosis of AVNRT, and onset and termination gradually over minutes, usually over many minutes, is the feature of sinus tachycardia, and onset and termination over few beats, that is warm and cool off phenomena, is feature of atrial tachycardia. Now we can see in this ECG, the tachycardia is initiated by this ventricular premature activity, ultimately starting this tachycardia, which was later found to be an AVRT. Now, what is the effect of drugs, carotid sinus and vagal maneuvers? So, most commonly drug, irrespective of the diagnosis which you use in the emergency, is IV adenosine. So, there can be these 4 responses after giving this drug. So, there can be no change in the rate, which implies that whether the inadequate dose was given or delivery was not appropriate. There is a gradually slowing and reacceleration of the rate, and this is seen in cases of sinus tachycardia, automatic atrial tachycardia, non-paroxysmal junctional tachycardias. Sudden termination: if it is suddenly terminates, it may be the arrhythmia may be AVNRT, AVRT, sinus node reentry, or triggered atrial tachycardias. And persisting atrial tachycardias with transient high rate AV block is the feature of atrial flutter, that is macro-reactant atrial tachycardias. Now we can see in these 3 ACs, the upper one, despite giving adenosine, there is no response. Tachycardia is continuing. This is most probably because of inappropriate delivery. As we know that adenosine has a very short half-life time and it should be given to the antecubital vein, or dosing was not appropriate. In the second one, there is termination of tachycardia with the initial 2 waves are the junctional rhythm followed by resumption of the sinus activity. And the third one we can see is there is the slowing of the ventricular rate unmasking the more atrial tachycardia. Now, regular versus irregular, it refers to the consistency of the RR interval during the narrow complex tachycardias. Variability greater than 20 milliseconds should be considered as irregular tachycardia. Mechanicity suggests various atrial location firing like multifocal atrial tachycardias, variable degree of AV block during and otherwise regularly activated atrial arrhythmias. So, a regular narrow complex tachycardia, how should we approach? If the P wave is visible or P waves are not visible. If P wave are not seen, possibilities of atrial flutter, AVNRT of slow fast type, or junctional tachycardia. If the P wave is visible, we should measure the RP interval. If the RP interval is more than 70, we should compare the RP, whether the RP is more than the PR interval. If RP is more than the PR interval, possibilities are sinus tachycardia, atrial tachycardia, or paroxysmal junctional tachycardia. If it is not as such, a possibility of orthodromic AVRT and AVNRT, that is slow pathway. Now, irregular narrow complex tachycardia, if the P wave visuals are not seen, we have to look for the F wave. If there is no F wave seen, possibility of atrial fibrillation is there. If F wave are seen, it is most likely atrial flutter with variable block. Now, if P waves are visible, we have to see whether they have different P wave morphology or common P wave. If they have a same morphology, there is a possibility of unifocal atrial tachycardia with variable AV conduction. And if it has a if have a same P wave morphology, whether sinus P wave seen or not. If sinus P wave is there, then the possibility of sinus tachycardia with ectopics are there. If there is non-sinus P wave, then possibility of multifocal atrial tachycardia has to be considered. Now, VA relationship, 1:1 relationship versus an atrial rate greater than ventricular rate refers to the number of P waves identified per QRS complexes. It allows inferences regarding the role of AV nodal conduction on propagation of arrhythmia. Narrow complex tachycardias with atrial rate greater than the ventricular rate are non-AV nodal dependent tachycardias. Now, RP interval, RP relation should be determined when 1:1 V relationship is present. Now, short RP versus long RP refers to the interval between the R wave, that is ventricular depolarization, to the subsequent P waves, that is atrial depolarization. And how we measure it? By figuratively splitting the interval between the two QRS complexes in half. If the P wave following the preceding QRS complex fall within the first half, it is referred to as short PR, short RP tachycardia, and if it falls in the second half, it is known as long RP tachycardia. Now coming to the some salient points for diagnosis of common SVT. So typical AVNRT manifests as short RP tachycardia, buried or very discrete abnormal periods within, immediately or after the QRS, and pseudo S wave in the inferior leads or pseudo R wave in the V1 may be seen. Holter monitoring will show the APDs with isolated atrial echo beats, and bundle branch block will have no effect on the tachycardia cycle length, and it terminates with the P wave. Coming to atypical AVNRT, it will present as long RP tachycardia with 1:1 VA conduction, and the APD which initiates the tachycardia has a distinguished P wave morphology from the subsequent retrograde P waves during the tachycardia, and they are more commonly to be initiated by the ventricular premature complexes. So this is an example where we can say there is a atypical AVNRT, there is a long RP tachycardia. You can see the RP interval is long, and there is a negative P wave in the 2-3 AVF, retrograde negative 2-3 AVF. So most likely this is a slow atypical AVNRT is depicted here. Now, so another differential diagnosis of such kind of long RP tachycardia are the possibilities of atrial tachycardias arising from near the bundle of his, such as coronary sinus ostium, and slowly conducting accessory pathways tachycardia referred to as permanent reciprocating junctional tachycardias. Now another this entity, dual AV nodal non-reentrant tachycardia. We have discussed about the dual AV nodal physiology, but here there is dual AV nodal physiology, but the mechanism of tachycardia is not re-entry. So this is an uncommon arrhythmia manifesting as narrow complex tachycardia that occurs in the presence of dual AV nodal physiology without re-entry. Single atrial impulse conducts antegrade down both the fast and slow pathway, producing a double fire ventricular response. On ECG, a single P wave is followed by two narrow QRS complexes, causing an irregular RR tachycardia. And it must be differentiated because it may be confused with atrial fibrillation as an irregular rhythm. Now this ECG, we can see that every P wave is followed by two QRS because of a single atrial impulse is conducted to the ventricle through two pathways. Now AVRT, it can be classified as orthodromic or enterodromic depending upon the conduction through which limb is occurring antegradely. So most commonly is orthodromic oriented tachycardia, comprise around 90-95% of the AVRT, and it results conduction through tachycardia in opposite direction, that is enterodromic, results in wide complex tachycardia and signifies enterodromic AVRT. And pre-excitation during a normal sinus rhythm, that is short interval in presence of delta wave, is the clinical hallmark. And concealed bypass tract may be there, refers to the absence of pre-excitation on ECG in patient with existing accessory pathways. Though orthodromic reentrant tachycardias and typical AVNRT both produces regular narrow complex RP tachycardia, short RP tachycardia, in AVNRT there is activation of ventricle and atrium occurs in parallel, that is A on V. And this explains why the P wave may be hidden or reveal itself only in the tail end of the RV. Whereas in case of orthodromic reentrant tachycardia, activation occurs of ventricle and atrium occurs in series, as in first ventricle then in the bypass tract. Hence the RP is generally not shorter than 90 milliseconds. So this is example. So upper one showing a short PR with a delta wave, and another showing the next one showing the short RP narrow complex tachycardia, that is an orthodromic AVRT. It can be initiated by both atrial or ventricular premature, And sudden aberration or development of bundle branch block will result in delay in the RP interval and slowing of the tachycardia cycle length inconsistent with the orthodromic oriented tachycardia. It terminates spontaneously with ventricular premature complexes. Atrial tachycardia presents as an atrial rate more than ventricle with atrial rates ranging from 100 to 230. Assessment of PVM morphology is important for localizing the site of the tachycardia. And if the P wave is similar to the sinus morphology, possibilities of appropriate or inappropriate sinus tachycardia, sinus nodal oriented tachycardia, or focal atrial tachycardia arising close to sinus node must be considered. And important thing is warm up and cool down phenomena, that is gradual acceleration, deceleration of tachycardia may be visible, and it may terminate spontaneously with QRS, although most often atrial activity will continue to fire in the presence of spontaneous AV block. Administration of adrenaline during atrial tachycardia can result in AV block with marching ectopic PVS and auto terminate the tachycardia. This is atrial tachycardia where we can see the P wave is seen, and this P wave morphology will be similar. The initiating P wave morphology will be similar to the P wave morphology which occurs during the tachycardia. The multifocal is when more than three or different P wave morphologies are seen with a heart rate of more than 100. The junctional tachycardia is a rare form of focal narrow complex tachycardia that arises from the AV junctional tissue. Mechanism is similar to focal atrial tachycardia, most commonly seen in the pediatric patients, and there can be 1:1 VA relationship with the retrograde P wave in 2-3 AVF. It can also manifest in adult in case of patients of post-ablation of minority, and it is often associated with AV dissociation. Initiation is with usually junctional beats and not dependent on the critical PR prolongation. So if you find, if you see a narrow QRS tachycardia with features of AV dissociation, that is P wave competing with this junctional rhythm, most likely possibility of junctional tachycardia should be considered. Now flutter is another macro-oriented atrial tachycardia with higher atrial rate, and it is classified as typical and atypical, with a typical being classified as sawtooth pattern, that is negative flutters waves in 2-3 AVF and positive flutter waves in V1. And atypical flutter develops around the area of atrium affecting by the previous surgical procedures. It can have variable degree of blocks also. If the ventricular rate is around 150, a possibility of 2:1 atrial flutter needs to be considered. And atrial flutter usually does not convert with AV nodal blocking drugs. So here we can see the atrial flutter with variable degree of conduction. Upper one is 1:1 conduction, and this one having higher grade of AV blocks. Now coming to management with the AV narrow complex tachycardia, we should assess whether the patient is hemodynamically stable or unstable. If the patient is unstable, we should proceed for the synchronized cardioversion. If the patient is stable, we should follow the following protocols in the like vagal maneuvers, and if unsuccessful, give for IV adenosine challenge. And if it's still unsuccessful, we can give IV verapamil or beta blocker. And if it's still unsuccessful, we can go take up for the diagnostic EP study and catheter ablation. Important precautions to be noted while for the adenosine, it is severe asthma, and in case of calcium channel blocker, LV dysfunction is important contraindication, and beta blockers to be avoided in case of heart failure. And in case of antidromic AVRT, if adenosine fails, consider IV ibutylite, propanamide or flecainide. So take home message should be comparison of rhythm strip of ECG during narrow complex tachycardia with sinus rhythm may reveal the etiology of arrhythmia. Stepwise approach to diagnose narrow complex tachycardia includes assessment of RR regularity, VA relationship, RP duration, P wave morphology, mode of initiation, effect of bundle branch block, and effect of spontaneous or induced AV block during tachycardia. After vagal maneuvers, IV bolus of adenosine is the mainstay early treatment of narrow complex tachycardia. And adenosine can be both therapeutic and diagnostic for the tachycardia mechanism involved. And management of narrow complex tachycardia with oral medication may decrease the regularity of the patient's symptoms. However, complete suppression is not common, and catheter ablation is often curative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Umesh, for a wonderful talk. And now session is open to any question, any query and any suggestion. मुझे लगता है कि ये बिल्कुल जो है हम लोगों के दिमाग में क्लियर है कि ये ईसीजी की ट्रेसिंग वगैरह देखने से ये मुझे लगा, मैंने पहले भी कहा कि 20 साल से जब हम इन ट्रेसिंग्स को AVNRT, TRT, PRT और AVT देखते हैं, तो तुझे देखा तो ये जाना सनम, प्यार होता है दीवाना सनम, ये लाइन मुझे याद आती है कि ईसीजी को देख के आज भी मुझे वैसे ही लगता है। पता नहीं, मुझे लगता है बाकियों को नहीं लगता होगा। थैंक यू वेरी मच,
Thank you,
थैंक
sir,
यू वेरी
for-
मच उमेश। एंड